Hello YouTube, I'm Jack Clark, the Eagle Musketeer, coming to you with another deck profile. So today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my Alien deck, and of course this is my own personal approach at the Aliens, so of course this deck does leave a lot of leeway and your own way to add in your own personal text and such, but of course I'm going to go through the card choices that I made in this deck, and I'm going to go through some of the combos and some of the theory behind the deck afterwards. So first off, we've got 3 copies of Alien Ammonite, 3 copies of Alien Dog, 2 copies of Alien Grey, 1 Alien Hypno, 3 copies of Alien Kid, 2 Overlords, 2 Telepath, 3 Warriors. Now for the spell lineup, we have 3 copies of Black Garden, 2 copies of Code A Ancient Ruins, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Mind Control, 1 Monster Reborn. Then, of course, we've got 2 copies of the Mystical Triangle, 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, and 2 Dualities. And for the trap lineup, we have 2 copies of Fiendish Chain, 2 copies of Offerings to the Snake Deity, a Solemn Judgment, and 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. Now, of course, there were a lot of other cards I wanted to fit into this deck, however, of course, space was tight, so of course you'll be able to manipulate this deck and the cards in it to your own liking, of course, because of course you can put stuff like bottomless trap holes and compulsors in this, in addition to stuff like Swords of Revealing Light and whatever. So, of course, what does the Alien deck do? Now, for those of you who are unaware, Alien decks were the Alien archetype was actually the first archetype to receive a synchro outside of being an archetype for 5Ds. Of course, it was an archetype introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX during the booster pack Power of the Duelist. So, very, very cool. However, unlike the Legendary 6 Samurai, this archetype never really got any tournament play because of how the deck actually properly works. Unlike 6 Samurai that swarm and destroy and control the field, Aliens generate A counters, and using those A counters they use to pay for their effects and to generate more A counters. In addition to that, they also like to focus on face-up spells and traps and manipulate those to their own advantage as well. So, of course, this leaves a lot of gaping holes and weaknesses for my opponent to exploit. So if they focus on face-up spells and traps a lot, of course, Mystical Space Typhoon and Heavy Storm will take care of those quite easy and they won't be able to resolve correctly. But of course, people aren't preparing for face-up continuous spells and traps anymore. I mean, people still do, of course, run Mystical Space Typhoons and Heavy Storm, but people are more likely to, for example, if I have a face-up spell with Trap Card on the field, and I have a couple of back row, my opponent's more likely to blind MST one of my back row, because my face downs anyway, they're more likely to MST that because they know that that may be more of a potential threat, because of course, like, I could be running Solemn Warning, or Judgment, or Torrential, or it could be a Fiendish Chain, or whatever, and they want to get rid of those threats out of the way more likely. Because the face-up continuous spells and traps you'll be using won't actually necessarily be the most offensive stuff. I mean, out of the duels that I've had on this with Dueling Network, my opponent will MST, of course, but they'll only MST, if they can, the Black Garden. So something like Code A Ancient Ruins, which is another continuous spell card, is completely safe most of the time. So, of course, that's always something to keep in mind. And always something to keep in mind if you want to include even more continuous spells and traps like Swords of Revealing Light and the like. So, how does the Alien deck work? Now, like I said, they use A counters and they manipulate face-up continuous spells and traps. Their synchro monster, Cosmic Fortress Gol'gar, is a level 5 synchro with 2600 attacks. That's very, very good. But of course, can only be summoned with an Alien Ammonite plus one of your aliens. So you need to have a user level 4. And its effect is that you can return all face-up spells and traps that you control on the field, so not just the ones you control, to the hand, and then distribute new A counters onto the field, equal to the numbers that were returned to the hand. So you can get rid of your opponents and yours, and then you can generate more A counters. In addition, once per turn, you can get rid of 2 A counters on the field to destroy a card on the field. So, of course, it's very balanced, very good, but of course, it hasn't seen very much tournament play because it's balanced, and of course, the Aliens is the best archetype in the first place for them to be able to become uber broken and tournament worthy automatically with the inclusion of Gol'gar. So, of course, most of these cards generate A counters, and Gol'gar abuses that. So, let's go through some of the very key cards. Now, Alien Kid is amazing. Alien Kid allows you to put an A counter on a monster that is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, and of course, that is a continuous effect, so that it happens automatically and doesn't start a chain. Now, Black Garden, for those of you unaware, when a monster is normal or special summoned, you get to halve its attack, and that monster's controller, their opponent, gets to summon a Rose token to their side of the field. Now, that Rose token will have 800 attack points immediately, and is unaffected by the Black Garden, so of course its attack isn't halved as well. So, let's think this through. A monster with 1600 attack, like Kid, Hypno, Telepath, and the like, will have their attack points go all the way down to 800. Meaning that monsters that have, I don't know, for example, my opponent summons Alexandrite Dragon, its attack will go to 1000. So, of course, if I summon Alien Kid, activate Black Garden, I'm sitting pretty. Not only will my opponent not be able to summon any monsters to get over my Alien Kid, because technically they'll need something that has more than double of 1600, so they'll need at least 3200 attack points to even try and come close to defeating it by battle. But also, Alien Kid coupled with Garden's effect means that every subsequent monster you summon, your opponent gets a rose token, but that rose token also gets an A counter. So right there you have a very, very consistent way of generating A counters for you to be able to use the effect of Alien Telepath, which is kind of like that Break of the Magical Warrior, which allows you to destroy your opponent's back row, and of course Alien Overlord, which allows you to get rid of them, to special summon itself, and of course he then can generate more A counters. Not only that, it allows you to manipulate the effect of Code 8 Ancient Ruins. Now, I'm only using 2 copies of Code 8 Ancient Ruins. I really like using 3 copies of Code 8 Ancient Ruins, of course, because you can actually loop with it. Now, of course, like I said, Cosmic Fortress Gol'gar returns face-ups continuous spells and traps to the hand, which allows you to, of course, reuse those effects. Now, Code 8 Ancient Ruins is a once-per-turn effect, which allows you to get rid of 2 A counters from the field to special summon an alien monster from the graveyard. You can kind of see where this is going. Because returning them to the hand with Gol'gar means that you can reactivate them and then use their effects again. And of course, returning them to the hand means you generate more 8 counters for you to be able to use with Ancient Ruins. So of course, we've got the Gol'gar loop, which of course, if you've got like a load of alien monsters in your graveyard, and you've got, I don't know, you've got your copies of Alien Ancient Ruins. So you summon your Ammonite and you summon another level 4 from your graveyard, you go for Gol'gar, use Gol'gar's effect, return all your face-up spells and traps to your hand, and maybe your opponent's as well, so you can get to reuse the effects of Fiendish Chain, and you get to reuse the effects of Code 8 Ancient Ruins, generate more counters onto the field, activate your Code 8 Ancient Ruins, use both of their effects with the A counters that you generated via the Gol'gar, to summon back an Alien Ammonite, and to summon back a freaking level 4 of your choice, at which point you can go for Gol'gar again, do it all again, and profit. It's really good. It's ridiculous. I have had many doors where I have been able to summon 3 Gol'gars in one turn, and being able to control the field a lot with the generation of A counters, because of course then each Gol'gar once per turn can get rid of 2 counters to destroy a card on the field. It is ridiculous, and I have OTK'd with this deck. And of course the inclusion of Black Garden makes this all the more consistent. And of course it does slow the game right down a bit, so of course decks that like to go for the win like really, really fast won't be able to do that as much, because they won't be able to inflict damage as consistently or as much damage as possible, because of course Black Garden halves the attack and defense of all the monsters that they summon. So of course, that's pretty much it. This deck is really quite interesting and really quite good. I've had duels on Dueling Network where I have 2-0'd Dino Rabbit before priority change, and that is Infernity matchup with Stepmania Maniac, and he couldn't do fuck all. But of course, there is a lot of stuff you can do with this deck. Of course, there's a lot of things I wanted to put into this deck that I couldn't. So for example, stuff like Alien Hypno, you don't necessarily have to use, but like you can include stuff like Malefic Stardust Dragons, you can put in Swords of Revealing Light, which is very, very good in this deck. You can also introduce stuff like Mr. Valley Falcon, which is kind of a mini Gol'gar, which allows you to reuse the effects of your continuous spells and traps, and then reuse them again. So, of course, I really like this deck, especially Mr. Valley Falcons and such, and of course, the trap lineup, and this deck is awesome, and you should most definitely try it. Of course, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or thoughts about the deck in general, please post those in the comments down below or as a video response. I really would appreciate it. I do read and try and respond to every comment and response that I'm given. Of course, that's assuming that I can actually answer them. But of course, that's pretty much it. I'm Jack Clark, the UK Musketeer. More videos out to you soon. But until then, goodbye.